Hello, this is Alec Kerr, the film critic for the Conway Daily Sun, and this week I want to talk about William Shakespeare's Star Wars. Now, at the Conway Daily Sun, we get a lot of books sent to us from publishing companies, and a lot of times we kind of just toss them aside in a pile and just see who's going to take a copy of the book, if at all. Because we don't do book reviews and we don't really write about books unless the author is going to be in town. And in the case of this book, the author isn't going to be in town. But when this came across my desk as a huge fan of Star Wars and a fan of Shakespeare, I got excited. And I haven't read it all the way through, but I've definitely flipped through it. And it is really good. It is written in iambic pentameter. I have a hard time saying that. I'm sorry. And it's just really clever. It seems like Shakespeare and Star Wars should be worlds apart, but really they're not, because they are based in very basic, fundamental story structures. Princes, kings, knights, valor, comic relief, real tragedy, and all those elements are in Star Wars just as they are in Shakespeare. The way the author, Ian Doescher, has come up with how to make this work is really well done, and really has an understanding of Shakespeare and really has an understanding of what makes Star Wars so great. And even does some clever things that you wouldn't necessarily think of doing with Star Wars in a Shakespearean language. The best example I have of that is R2-D2. Most of the time does do his bleeps and blops and whistles, but he does have monologues where when no one else is on stage and it's just him, he reveals that there's much more to him, which is very, very smart, because that's what Shakespeare would do. A lot of the time, the characters that were seen as being complete imbeciles would get a monologue that reveals that they were doing a lot more than they seem to be doing on the surface. And I just want to read that R2-D2 monologue because it's fairly brilliant. "This golden droid has been a friend, 'tis true, yet I wish to still his prating tongue, and if he calleth me, I'll be revenged. Merry pranks aplenty I shall play upon this pompous droid C-3PO. Yet not in language shall my pranks be done. Around both humans and droids I must be seen to make such errant beeps and squeaks, that they shall think me simple. Truly though, although with sounds oblique I speak to them, I clearly see how I shall play my part, and how a vast rebellion shall succeed by wit and wisdom of a simple droid." What is really sharp about that is that George Lucas did make Star Wars with the intention of it being from the perspective of the droids, and that all of this adventure happened around them, and that in many respects they were the impetus for a lot of things happening. In fact, he actually wanted Star Wars to be almost solely focused on the droids, but then the powers that be said he needed to have a hero, and so Luke Skywalker was brought in. But even if you look at the structure of Star Wars, they are the impetus for the entire story. They bring Luke Skywalker into the story. R2-D2 has the plans to destroy the Death Star, so they are central to the story. So that monologue is very much at the core essence of what Star Wars is about and what Shakespeare is about. And that's what makes this book work so very well. And I would love to see it actually staged. Maybe I'll try to find a way to make that happen. Anyway, this is Alec, and come back next week for another Real Thoughts.